Hey. So we should be up now. Just waiting for this delay to do the preview screen here. Uno momento. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Alrighty, so how's it going? David asked what the session is about, so you missed the previous ones. Okay. So all we've really done so far, we did two live streams so far. I've done two live streams. The first one was during the day, so a lot more people could get on, just because I think a lot of the people that are coming over from Europe, uh, from my Udemy side, their time is quite a bit different from mine, so I think it's in the morning. So we did two. The first one, I just talked about the stuff that we could be doing on the channel, and we came up with sort of the base application that would sort of run what we want to do in the future for collaborating on different types of projects. So I want like the community or all of us, not through Udemy per se, but since you guys are already familiar with some of the stuff there, come on over to here, and I think we should, once we have this application done, we'll move on to another one, then another one, and we can collaborate and work on GitHub, and you can fork the projects, you can change things, make features, and you can have pull requests, and I'll incorporate them into the final master piece of software. And I think that's a really cool way of doing things, like just to work together as a group. Not, it doesn't have to be too serious. Just as people that like to write code and just do it. Like talking to people in the chat, they're from all around the world. So yeah, let's just have some fun writing code together. So today I was busy all day, so I have to do it later in the evening. But I'm gonna try and do it around 2 o'clock my time. So right now it's 6:30, so that's about 4 hours earlier. I'm gonna try and get the streams on. So hopefully it'll help the people on the other side of the world there. Um, my connection is good. I say everything seems like it's going good on my side. I see in the chat it says lost connection. Is anyone else watching this fine? Can you just type in the chat so I'm not talking for no reason really? I'll just wait on that. I know there's a delay here of a few seconds, probably 15-second delay. Just want to make sure. That's awesome about the Python beginners course. I'm just reading that comment. I made that course so long ago, and I'm not 100% proud of it. I've always thought I would go and redo it. But yeah, it was great just to start coding in front of like a screencast type coding situation. So I'm going to sort of try and do that kind of thing, but more community based, using live stream and using GitHub and using real code, real projects. So I want to try and do that. But yeah, it was a great experience writing the Python course. I went on and did the Python intermediate course, which I enjoyed doing much more. I feel that's a much better course in my own opinion. I did go back and do some other videos in the beginner's course, but never really went and finished and rehauled the entire course. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't know if I'm going to. I did switch it over to free, so a lot of people can have access to it. Comes in and out of focus. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to put mine full screen here. You have to sort of, instead of auto, I think you have to actually select 1080p on some people's. I noticed in the stats for previous screencasts it was going down to like 480 and stuff. So I'm hoping that it's fine. It looks fine on my computer, so it sort of sucks. I don't know how to fix it. Everything looks like it's fine. It says stream health is good. Yep, it says everything is good. So unfortunately, there's nothing I can do on my end if you are having a little bit of trouble there. So anyways, I want to dive into the coding because I'd spent the first video talking a lot. And my whole thing was trying to answer Dave's question of he missed the session. So the first one, we decided on a project. We're doing the overall hub for this whole experience, this coding experience. And then in the second video, I started that web application, and I decided on The way that you design these things, you have an overall idea, but you have to break that idea down into smaller bits and smaller data objects. And the first thing was the the data object that we are going to start on is projects, because I thought when you first come to the hub, what you're going to see is all the different projects we're working on. And for people that are not watching the videos or not into coding, it's a really great spot to see what we're up to. And then for the users, they can be contributors to those projects. And then we'll also have these live sessions, or we'll have the video library archives. We'll have written articles and posts, and then we'll have like comments and community, like, I don't know, communication, some sort of communication. I don't know if that's going to be a forum or whatever it's going to be, but that's sort of the overall entire approach to the entire application. So, but we have to start somewhere. And the first thing is, the first smaller piece we're going to build is the project side. And we did that before. Now, I'll just show you if you haven't seen yet. Whoop, here we go. Let's go over here. So this is what we built. So if you missed the last time, all we have so far is we got the URL set up with /projects, and we have it lists project. This is not styled in any way. This is just plain Jane thrown up there, so we see if it's working. So we have listing all the projects. We have just like a project that was created. Then we have like a show page, so it just describes the one project. And then we can go back. We can edit the project, right? So we can switch it over to project 3, update the project. Has project 3, go back. And you can destroy the project, excuse me, which we won't do. That's just deleting it. And then we can create new projects. So go in here and create a new project. But that's what we've got so far. So we have all the code for that. And the code looks like this. So we'll just go into it real quick here. Okay, so we have the app controller, and we have a project controller, and essentially it's just all of this. Okay, so we talked a lot in the last session. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend just going back so we don't have to repeat everything, but it just talks about the different actions that you can have on a controller, and it discussed what a model view and a controller are and how they work together, and it just went through all of that. So just watch the last session, day 2, I guess it is. So yeah, so I'm going to, where am I here? So I'm going to actually go in here. I'll start a new tab. And in the last video, I actually did not commit it to Git. I was going to do it, and then I realized, well, I'm not on camera anymore, so I don't want to do things off camera as much as possible. So I'm just going to do it here. I'll just show you the status. So everything we did was we created all those project files. So all the style sheets, JavaScript, the controller, helper, all these things required to do what we did was generated through a Rails generator. And we use a scaffolding generator that creates all that stuff for us really, really quickly, including some of the tests. And we actually ran some tests and they all passed, so that's good. And we're going to do more today. So because I didn't commit it, so I'm just going to add to Git. I'm going to use a dot because I'm going to add it all because it's all related to the projects. I just want to verify that it is all in there so we can see that everything has been became ready to commit here. So I'm just going to git commit. And then you always want to say like a little message. So what we're committing here is the last thing we did was added the code for the projects using scaffold. And enter, so that's what we did. And git status, I just like doing git status quite a bit. So there we go, we're on master branch. We'll come up here and let's push this all the way to okay, there we go. So that's in there. Now let's start working on the tests for the projects file. And what we're going to be doing is using the built-in test. We talked about this in the last one. We're using the test unit or Minitest that's built into Rails. Now there are a lot of people and a lot of tutorials out there that's going to talk about using RSpec, and that's probably the most popular Rails thing out there. So we could be doing that now, but you know, I don't really want to have another dependency with another gem. So I'm thinking I'm just going to keep it on the built-in testing framework, the test unit. And I think they actually brought in Minitest into the newest version of Rails for the test unit overall framework. So it's really easy to use. You don't really need anything more than that. So we're going to keep doing it. And what we're working on today is the tests for the models. So unit testing the models. Let's just go into here. It doesn't really talk about it in the guide very much, the Rails guide. It says you can unit test your models, and it just says you could create. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, it doesn't really talk about it at all, really. It's probably the worst documentation for that, for any part of it. The rest of the stuff it documents very nicely, but the models not so much. Do we have one page set up? Yeah. Let's go through and work on that. So we're just going to go into the tests. And we talked about having a fixture test before. I'll just show you. We have the project model fixtures. And that just means that we can access this, and we have preset data that we can stick into this project model. But if we want to run a model test here, we have this file under tests models. So we have, let's see here. Yeah, this is just the, I don't know why it always starts with this. It's such a plain Jane test for the models. It just says test the truth. It says assert is the way that we're going to say, can you make sure something is true that we're going to pass in after. So assert something is correct. And what this test is really doing is it's saying assert true is true. And it is, so it'll pass. But that's sort of a pathetic test. So what we want to do is, let's see here, test. What should we test? Project can be created with all parameters. Okay, so this is just saying that we're going to test that a project can be created with all the parameters. And what's going to end up happening is we want to assert project.valid. All right, so essentially what's happening here, well, we haven't actually written, but that's what we want to test. We want to test that when we create a project, it's going to be valid. So I'm going to, there we go, create the project, and we are going to create one. And let's pass in what we need to create that project. So the project, if I remember correctly from before, the model, it had a name, right? So let's give it a name. New app. It had a description. This is an app that had a, let's go ahead and just make sure we're doing this right here. All right, so let's just go up into the model and just make sure that, or probably the schema. So we'll just go DB schema. We'll go down to the projects, and we see that we have project.create. We have the name, we have the description, we have web link is next. So we have web link, and we'll do test.com just as a basic thing. What else we got here? GitHub page, GitHub link, and github.com. And that is it. So close that off. Boom. So what this test is going to do is it's going to say we want to create the project. Oh, that's written wrong. Project. So equals. So we're going to have a variable project. We're going to assign that a creation of a new project. So project.create, and we're going to pass it all the different variables. There are all the different parameters. And why is this dropping down to a new line here? Alrighty, and then we're going to assert that that was a valid creation. Now, valid is a tool that we have because, do I have it here? Let's see. There we go. We have validations that we can place on a model. So we have, you can validate if different things are supposed to be present when you create the model. You can validate, that's the valid one. Errors, you can validate acceptance, validate associated, confirmation, exclusion, format. There's a whole bunch you can do. So, and then you can run valid on that to make sure that all of those things pass. So when you actually create a model, that all those little things that you've set, all those rules actually do work. So that is essentially what we're doing when we say, is the project valid? It's just checking through all of that stuff. Now we haven't actually done any of that stuff yet, so it's not going to necessarily have any errors because it should be valid because we haven't actually set any validations on the project model yet. Let's just see, we're just going to save this, and then I should be able to go in and run rake, and this should just test everything. Now I probably should have tested just the one, but that's fine. We'll just go through here, and you can see that everything ran. Let's just go up and find the test that we just did. There we go. Test project can be created with all parameters. This is the one we just did. So it just goes through and inserts or creates that into the database. And then it'll say fail here if it failed, but it actually passed. So we're all good. So we created one. Now what we want, that one sort of works right out of the gate because that's what Scaffold does for us. But we want to do something a little bit different here. We want to see if somebody forgets to enter something in, does that still work? And we don't really want it to work. So what we want to do is do this. We want to test project is not valid if description missing. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing. I should have just probably copy pasted this while I can. Okay, and then we'll copy this down to here, and we'll just take out the description and say, like, what happens if this description, oh, come on now, what happens if this description is missing? Is it still valid? It shouldn't be. That's what we sort of want to say. The problem is I think it is still valid, so we want to assert. There's a way that we can do insert not. We could either do assert not, or we could do assert exclamation mark, then project.valid. So what this is saying is the project not valid if we're missing something? In this case, if we're missing the description, is it not valid? So we want to test that. So I'm just going to save that, run back here in rake. Actually, we'll do this, but there is a way that we should have this running automatically because we have the gem installed from the last episode there. So it fails. You can see that it failed there. So it says test project if not valid, or sorry, is not valid if description missing. And that's what failed. It's expected to be true, but it's nil or false, which is bad. So what we have to do here, whoops, is go through and we don't want to be in this file. We want to be up in the models and in the project. And we want to say in the project, whoops, we want to go through and talk about the validations. So the one at the top here, I'm just going to go down here, validate presence. Okay, so we want to validate the presence of something. In this case, they're saying validate set name, the parameter attribute name, has a presence of true, so it should be there. So we can do that in our code. We can just go through and say, well, let's validate that the description presence is true. And we can save that and go through and run this again and see, does it actually work? So we're going to run rake and see what happens. So we have a couple errors here. So by adding that validation, it must have broke something earlier on, which let's just see what it broke. Test should update project. Valid keys are on if unless validates. That's what the problem is. So we can easily fix that. We can go here and just insert validates. Yeah, made that mistake. All right, so we'll just run that again. There we go, everything passes now. So it's just a matter of going through and writing some tests like this. The trick too is for writing these tests is you don't really want to have more than one assert in a test. So we could go through and say, project is not valid if a parameter is missing or a attribute is missing or something. So we could then do like project create and missing, have the description missing, then assert not project valid, and then we could do it all over again and all over again and all over again. The trick is you should just do one at a time in a test. So each test would fail on its own based on its one, thing that we're actually testing. In this case, the description being missing. So what we want to do here is yank that out and put that down here, go up here and insert. Whoops. And then we're just going to test here if the name is missing. So we want the name to be missing, so this is going to be the description now. And it's the exact same thing, so we're just going to save it. Run rake. And this is essentially the process. So we're just going to do this one more, then I'm going to show you something a little different. So there we go. The name's missing is failing because it's actually not failing. It's saying, oh yeah, we'll create this for you. But we don't want it to, so just like before, we're going to go through and stick this in here, and we're just going to validate that the name. And one last time, we will run rake and see how it's going. And then I'm going to show you something that makes this testing process, because you can see it's sort of going back and forth, and you write a test that fails, and then you write code to make it pass. It's sort of back and forth thing there. And we could do that for all the different parameters. I think we had 2 other ones. But before we do that, let's just show you something I'll use Chrome for that, just faster. So we have, for the gems, let's go search guard real quick. Okay, so I'm going to check this one. Go to the home page. No, let's go to the GitHub page. Source code. Okay. Okay, so one thing we have to do here, we have guard as a gem already. Now, what I want to do is run the guard init. So I can just go to here and go here. And let's just run that guard init. Okay, so we have a guard file now. Wondering, I think I have a sample guard file. What's going on here? Just going to grab a sample or a guard file that we can use for running on Rails. Rails 4, that is. Okay, so whoops, a little bit of Dragon Ball Z there. Let's see what we want to do here. We want to go into the guard file. Should be at the bottom. This is what that just generated when we did init. So let's just refresh this. It should be one there. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to select all of this, delete it, and then insert this guard file. Yep. Ah, shit. This does this. Let me just fix this real quick. It's pretty simple. It comments out for some reason when I paste it into this, because of the way that this Ubuntu is set up, it pastes it in really weird. Okay, so I can just go through and like this. Okay, so what this is doing, this is just, I'm just going to save it. This guard file, guard is a way to automatically run your tests when you make changes to files. And what the, over 9,000, I like it. So, it's funny. So the guard test file here, what it's going to do is going to say when do you want us to actually run your test for you, and guard's going to keep an eye open, so it's watching different things. So this little file I just cut and paste into there is saying let's watch the test folder, the lib folder, and all these things, and then it actually says let's watch the controller files, and if those change, run the tests associated with the controllers, and it does all of that for us. So really neat. That'll be up on the GitHub page that you can just reuse all that kind of stuff, and it works great. So now that I have that saved, I can go back to here, and instead of running rake every time, which sort of gets annoying, I'm just going to run the command guard, and this should launch an error. Excellent. So syntax error, must have something wrong with this guard file from cut and paste in it. Ah, yes, I see it. I don't know if all you guys see it, but I certainly do. The very bottom, it duplicated this N for some reason. Yeah, it's something like Mocha. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, but I wanted to illustrate not using guard before I use guard, because it really shows the pain if you've ever worked with writing tests properly, where you write a test, fail, fix it, pass it. That process is like back and forth, and it's a bit tedious waiting for the tests all the time. So let's just see, this should fix this. Guard. Okay, so first thing it does is run all the tests, which is the long thing. But after that, the fun part of it is if you change one file, it only runs the test associated with that one thing. So it doesn't run through all of your tests like it would do if you did the rake command. Although you could do rake test and then specify an actual test file to do, then that's tedious having to go through that whole path to the file. And you can see that I have 0 errors. But the fun part is if we do this and we go, whoops. If we go here into our test file and I'm going to save it, now it's going to run the test. I'm not going to show you, but you'll see a little thing pop up in the right-hand corner. There are 3 tests run, 0 fails, a check mark, so you know you're good. So you don't even have to really leave your coding. You can just keep going and just save files, and if all of a sudden it pops up saying your test fail, you know, you're like, wait a minute, got to go check that out. And then you can just jump back over to here and say, well, what happened? You can see which one failed. So it's really handy. So I'm just going to quickly, we have the 2 other, I'm just going to yank those down to here. Whoops, what am I doing here? Do this. Okay, so then I'm going to say the project is not valid if, what do we want? What was it again? Oh, I have the worst description. Oh, here, right here. Web link. Web link missing. So I'm just going to insert the name back into here. Name. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's just a string, as long as it's a string. We can make it matter what it is actually with a validation, but for now it's fine. So I'm just going to do web link, get that out of there. And then this one, I'm going to say, instead of description, what do we have left? We have, where are we here? GitHub link. It has been a long day, folks. That's why we're doing this late at night. But you guys are probably on a longer day because you guys are probably up later than me right now. But keep going. We'll make this work. So we need a description in here. Descript. And then we want to erase all of this and save. So now that we saved, it's going to run and it's going to check out if any of this stuff fail, which it will. So I'm just going to quickly jump over to here. Obviously, we know it's going to fail. So we're going to run up to the models, open that up, and yep, we have one failure, one error. What's the error? That could be an issue. The error is a no attribute. Oh, I spelled description wrong. Something I do quite often, especially if it's the end of the day. I'll spell stuff wrong constantly. Okay, so save that now. But like we said, we know it's failing, so let's just go ahead and put 2 of these in, and we'll do 2 failures. Good. So we are good there. Web link is one of the things we want the presence of, and then we'll do this other one and GitHub link. Boom. Okay. Someone's from the West Coast. Sweet. So yeah, I was wondering how many people will be on the West Coast, where I think it's a 3-hour difference going back. So I'm trying to hit the middle, and I was on Udemy and I seen so many people are from Europe that watch those videos, and I thought, damn it, they're probably moving ahead, so they're probably in the middle of the night. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna try and do the 2 o'clock time. So for the West Coast guys, that would be just before lunch, or would it be lunch? No, it'd be like 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock-ish probably. So yeah, that might work for them. I don't know, but it works for me very well. And also the guys on the other side of the globe, that's more like after dinner for them, so better time. So I don't remember if that passed. Yeah, okay. So I saved that file and it ran all the tests and everything passed, so we are good. So we can go through and actually do some cool things, which I don't think I'm going to do right now. We might do that later, of validating other types of things. So the description can have a certain length, or the name can have a length, or a maximum length, minimum length, or we could have it only accepts certain characters into the name, which is very popular. So we'll do all that stuff, but I think for right now, let's just leave it at this. This is fairly basic testing to make sure everything that we want there is there. The other thing that I would highly recommend is going into, let's see, the DB, migrate, and creating the table. So what's happening here is we have the name being created, but we can also say we want this to be null false, meaning that this cannot be empty. Yeah, so let me just do that again. So I'm going to do that on all of them. One of the things we've done though is we have let's see, we've already created this or migrated this, so I'm going to do something after the fact. I'm going to drop the tables and then recreate them. Meaning, and you don't ever do that unless you're sort of early stage, but since we're not really doing anything yet, we're really early, then we can go ahead and drop our tables and then recreate them all from scratch. If you're in production environment, this thing's live, you don't want to do that. That would be terrible. So because it would delete all the data, right? It would totally destroy the database. So what you want to do instead is create another migration that changes things. But in this case, we have no data, we have no production server, we have no nothing. So we're just going to drop the database and accept all this. So this is doing the nulling of the, or checking for null, meaning nothing, at the database level. So we're going to have validations at the backend level, the server level, and we're also going to have validations for null at the database level. So it's very good. You want to do that. If you don't want people to have empty things like empty name or empty description, you want to do it on both sides. It's really good. So I'm going to save that file, and let's see if I can remember how to do this. I'm going to exit out of the server, and I wonder if I did an alias for this. What would it be? Bash, what aliases? I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Let's just see if I can remember it. So you go rake db drop db create db migrate. Run all those three. So it drops the entire database, it recreates all the tables, and then it migrates your migration files. And it looks like it worked, so we can go over and let's just run this test here. So we go save that and go down and see if these, so it's going to run and see if it all passes still with our new migration. Yeah, so there are archives obviously, so you guys can watch, but like once this gets going, we have more people involved. It's going to be really cool to work with the live stream and have people comment and suggest things and stuff like that. So when we work on more of the group type projects, that would be really cool. So I'd like it to have a time where everyone can get involved. But yeah, for sure, you can grab the archives if you're feeling it. So there you go. We have the tests all passing, even though we migrated the database over, so that the database also checks for null. So that's working perfectly. So the other thing I want to do here, I wonder if I have it in the Chrome here. Do I? Right here. Is start working with Bootstrap. Now I installed the Bootstrap Gem when I did the gem file upgrade in the last session, where I just added all the gems I usually work with. So I did that. But what we actually want to do is I'm going to go back here to the Bootstrap. I think I had it up. Yep. So I'm going to go to the home page for that, which is the GitHub page, and we're using Bootstrap 3.3.6. There is a Bootstrap 4 coming out, but for right now, I think, yeah, this is for 4. So what we want to do is use the Bootstrap SAS, and this is the one that, yeah, this is the one that just reading the comments there. This is the one that we want to use because we're going to be using Bootstrap 3. There is a much better Bootstrap, which is Bootstrap 4 for working with Rails, but it's in the alpha stage. It's not actually final release yet. So we're going to work with this, and let's just see how we have. So we have this in our. I'm just going to check if I have that. What is this new version of VirtualBox? Okay. So let's just go into our code here. And I'm going to check the gem file. Whoops. See what we installed there. And what Bootstrap is the front end framework for making things look good. So what did I install? I got Bootstrap SAS, Bootstrap Form. And what else is it asking us for? Let's see here. SAS Rails. Do I have that? I wonder. Yes, I do. So I have SAS Rails right there. Perfect. So let's see what else it's talking about. Then it says bundle install that, which I did that in the last episode. So it's all installed. Now we need to actually tell the application to use it. So in the application.scss file, so I'm going to go and copy this over to here, and let's go into here and then go up to the very top. We have our assets and we have our style sheets and we have our application or CSS. Now we'll rename that in a second, but we're just going to go down all the way to the bottom and we will insert, we will insert this into there just like it told us to do. You're talking about, I'm just reading the comment, you're talking about using it for the login page. Yeah, read it in a few minutes. Yeah, it's great. Like you're going to see how fast this is. So it just says a bit of context here. Where are we here? There. So this is what it looks like now, right? So let's just go through this. Like it's going to take us 30 seconds to do this. So, whoops. So we did that, we saved it, right? And we're also going to do another one for the JavaScript just because I liked using the JavaScript stuff, but we did this. Make sure CSS, we'll do that in 1 second. Actually, well, we'll just copy paste this, perfect. So, yeah, I didn't think they already had there. So just copy and pasting is so easy, so we'll just do that. So copy paste that. So what we're doing here is we're moving the application.css over to application.scss. And in a terminal, the MV for move, that's the same thing as if you're in a GUI and you just say rename. So renaming is essentially just moving one file from one name to another. So that's what this is doing. And so that's done. So I can go back into the code here and go over here and just hit refresh. Maybe capital R. And you can see that it changed the name to SCSS. So that's what it wanted us to do. So we'll just go back and do the next thing. You know, you don't have to memorize all this stuff. You can go through and just work through the tutorials on what they want you to do, because a lot of times these things change. So if you memorize it, then you sort of are working with the wrong information. So we want to work with the JavaScript stuff now. So I'm just going to do not use require in SAS. Okay, so it's just saying that in the CSS stuff, there are wait a minute, what's this? Then remove all the require self and the require tree statement from the SAS file instead use add import to import SAS files. Okay, I never really did that. So then the application.js we're going to do next, but let's just do what it said there. So I copied that over, and it's saying get rid of this. I can't remember about the tree. Yeah, I'll get rid of the tree too. Okay. So that tree dot means bring in all the other files in the style sheets folder. That's sort of what it means. And then the require self would just require its own file. So then what we're going to do here is go into the JavaScript and do pretty much the same thing. We're going to import whatever Bootstrap wants for the JavaScript stuff. So I believe you have to put it underneath jQuery. We can put it before TurboLinks or after. It doesn't really matter. So we're just going to do this. And see this pasting thing in the virtual machine? It adds the comments automatically, which sort of screws things up. But for the most part, we already have jQuery, so I don't need this. That's pretty much all we need to do. I'm just going to save that and just go back to the tutorial here and see what it says on the GitHub page. So we have Bootstrap should not both be included in application. Okay, so that's what we want. Please make sure Sprockets Rails is at least version 2.4. It should be fine because I've used all of my gems before. Just seeing here. Quickly look through. I think everything's good. Yep, okay. So we're going to test this out now and see how beautiful it made everything. So we can go back to our application. Where was this? And let's refresh, see if it changes everything. We're not connected to the database, obviously. So Rails S, go back. Should have probably waited to see if it. Wait. There we go. So now we can go through and hit refresh and see if it looks any different. Now again, this Firefox takes forever. So since we restarted the whole server here, it's got to restart everything. So we're just waiting on that. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. And again, the whole point here is that we wanted to make this look pretty really quickly. So we added a gem. We added 2 lines of code to this. So it's not doing anything there. That is weird. I should just inspect the element to see why it's not updating. It should have done it. There's all the Bootstrap stuff for the CSS, right? And Bootstrap There is no Bootstrap. Oh yeah, geez. Oh wait, I did rename it. So what's that? Okay, so it says application SCSS. Why is it still doing that? Maybe it's because this is cached. We will wait and see. This is caching the style sheet. We want the SCSS one. And it still says CSS. So what I'm going to do here is check. Never had this issue before, but we will solve it. So that's what we do. So we're going to go through and just double check. So we got the SCSS there. It's importing. Everything looks good. I don't know why that didn't save. Okay, saved. Good. And then I'm going to refresh this just to make sure. See, it's pulling it from there. Because what happened was I saved it. I had the file .css open in Vim, and then I renamed the file, and then I went into Vim and saved it, and it saved back to the .css. So that was the mistake there. So all we have to do to fix that is we'll just shut down the server, and we will just do a remove app assets style sheets application .css. Okay. Well, I won't go in there, but we'll just do Rails S, and then this should refresh this. Good. And then the application here. Let's just quit out of this. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so everything looks good now. So that was the issue. I just had two application files, and it just grabbed the one .css, and it was using the old stuff. So we don't want that. We want this one. So this should be loaded by now. So let's just load this up. The main thing you'll see is like the links look different, and just the font looks a little different when it switches over. Take some time on this Firefox. It's not that Firefox is slow, it's that running it inside this this virtual machine is slow. And it's the only thing that's really slow about the virtual machine, so it's not bugging me too much. And it makes, yeah, there we go. Just wait. Something's frozen here. There we go. So there you go. You can see the font changed, the right there. The length thing changed, and if we go into here, you can see that the actual form changed a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And there's a way we can make this more GitHub, or not GitHub, more Bootstrap-ish. So I'll show you that real quick. So we're going to go through, we'll say back. So we're going to go into here, and I believe I have in the gem file, I have a Bootstrap Form. Yep, Bootstrap Form right here. And if we look over at the Bootstrap website, you're going to see all the cool stuff that we can do. So we have CSS. So we have forms. And this is sort of the styling that is created on the forms. It's just automatically styled to look like this. Really, really nice, really, really clean looking. And we can do things like append different things, like group different parts of a form together. We can do horizontal forms, text areas look good, checkboxes and all that kind of stuff. So it's just styling. It's a front-end CSS framework for styling everything. It's really, really cool. So instead of going through and adding all these classes to each one of these things, there's a gem called Bootstrap Forms that we're going to utilize that I've already included in the gem file from last episode. And all we really have to do here to make it work is, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go into the view and the projects views and the form, because that's what we're going to talk about right now. So to do it, all I'm going to do is add the word, or change this over to bootstrap _ form4, and instead of just normally form4. So what this is going to do is it's going to tell the gem to go through and make all these fields that we're adding here to this form have the right classes associated that would work with Bootstrap. So this error section at the top I'm going to leave because that's fine. But essentially what we can do is get rid of the div and the label around the different fields that we want, because the Bootstrap Gem is going to add those things for us. So I'm just going to do this, get rid of the label, get rid of the div, and it really just cleans up this page. Like if you look at it, we can get rid of the actions thing. And in here, I'm going to add, I'm going to leave it for now and then we'll see what it looks like, but I'm going to add probably something if it doesn't look the way I want it to look. So I'm just going to save that, and you can see how much we took out of that file. We're down to a few files, or a few lines of code to really get that form the way we want it. We just are listing out the different text fields that we want for name, description, web link, and GitHub link, and then a submit button. So it's saved. Let's go and hop over to our little project here, and we'll say new project and see what that did. So you can see what happened here is it made the form fields the 100% width, and we can change that if we want, but this is sort of the default. Typically you're going to set your page up to be a certain width, and this is the default for that. We have all our test passing based on that change of the view. Nice. And then we have this default button here, right? So we can do things, and here's a backlink. So it just cleans up everything really, really quickly. And we can do things like change that button very, very easily by simply going in here and saying, we're going to add a class, and it's going to be a Bootstrap class. So we're going to say insert. I believe you can just do it like this. This may cause an error. We may need to put something in there. But we can just say a button and then button primary. And this is a preset for it's going to use the primary color setup for this application, which is, there's a default one for Bootstrap. It's like this blue color. So what it's going to do though is change the button over to use that. And we may need to add something here, but I'm going to try this anyways. So we're just going to go here, hit refresh. Syntax error. So it wants me to add in the text to put in the button there. So I'm going to do that quick. Now I might be able to get away with just having the comma there, but we will add this in just for fun. Save project. And we will go back and refresh. Just reading the comments now while I'm waiting here. So we got, do you know the VM manager that takes more of the PC's resources, thus having much smoother experience inside? Well, first off, I'm using 32-bit, which I regret. I should have went with 64-bit. That might be part of the reason. The other thing is this computer is pretty beefy that I'm working on, but for some reason I'm only able to, like, it's not the view stuff. It's like I can jump over like there to there. Like that's pretty responsive, like to me anyways. Like it could be quicker, but for a virtual machine, this is pretty responsive. What's happening is it's the actual local host running, or like running up, like creating all the stuff it needs to create to run the web app, the localhost web app, and then it's also going and loading in all of the assets one at a time. And that is slow compared to like on a production server. And some computers, like if I was running this right on Windows, it would be much, much quicker. Or like obviously a Mac, which I usually develop on, it's much easier there too. So I think it's not necessarily Ubuntu is slow or Firefox itself is slow. It's just the fact, this live chat went. Are we still good? Wonder why that live chat went. I got the live chat here, but I don't know why it's not on the. There we go. Okay. So anyways, yeah. So I don't know exactly what it is. I'm giving it a lot of resources, so it's pretty fast. Like in my opinion, this is good. And my typing is pretty good. Obviously, right onto my MacBook that I usually code on, it's a little bit quicker. But I'm not complaining. I'm not moving lightning faster. I'm sort of going slow and thinking about things. So I'm happy with it so far. I'm really happy. The Firefox thing is a little bit slow, but I don't know if that's the virtual machine's fault or the or if it's Firefox running or my resources. So I'm using VirtualBox here like this. 50 megabytes. yeah, 50 megabytes video memory, 3 megs or 3 gigs of base system memory. I'm shoving over to it. Storage, I got plenty of storage for it. And also, I am running it all through a shared folder, which might also slow things down a little bit because it has to communicate over to Windows. So, yeah, I think it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Um, so, okay. So that's it. Yeah. So what do we got here? We got this form. It's all looking nice. So we can go through and look at different things like the grid. So we can go through and say, I wonder if the overview would do it. Here. So we can add the div container to sort of make it so our application isn't going right to the edge of the screen, which might make a lot of sense here. And using container fluid is for when you have a full width application and you do want to have the grid set up like that. So you could use fluid and it's going to change sizes very nicely for the different viewports, such as iPads and all that kind of stuff. So, well, another thing with Ubuntu, I'll just mention this real quick. I haven't made the video yet and put it up, but I did record the whole process on setting up Ubuntu in the VirtualBox. And a whole big section that I included is how to change Ubuntu to speed it up, because when you first install it on a virtual machine, it's so slow. All the animations drag. It's just insanely hard to work with. So I do have a long section of a video I'm creating that just goes through and says, change this, change this, change this, shut off animations here, shut off animations there, and it speeds it up to the point where I'm at now. And the only thing I feel is slow now is the Firefox loading, and I think that has to do with the local host fetching all the assets, and that has to do with the Rails and the asset pipeline. It's a whole big thing. So hopefully that'll work for you. The blue screen terminal call. Okay, so Johnny said, what are you using? So I went through this in the first video. I usually code on a MacBook, but my day job, I'm an architect, and my day job I work on a beefy like Windows machine. And for this thing, I just wanted, because I'm going to be streaming, I wanted the beefier machine to handle it. So I'm streaming using the Windows machine. Unfortunately, Windows really sucks for coding. And I've tried many times to code on Windows, and it just doesn't work very well at all. You always run into roadblocks. So the best thing to do if you're on a Windows machine is to use a virtual machine. And VirtualBox, which I'm working here, yeah, VirtualBox. That is what I'm using, right? Yeah. That is, yeah, VirtualBox. That is free to use. You just download it and install it, and it's free. So there's no excuse not to do that. And what it allows you to do is set up a Linux-based operating system, which matches directly to a production server. So it's amazing for developing code. If you're into anything web related at all, you pretty much would want to develop on a Linux-based machine with a virtual machine. Linux-based operating system with a virtual machine, just because it ties really closely to what'll be on production. So it's really, really nice that way. So anyways, yeah, give that a try if you want. I really highly recommend that. So I'm just going to add this to the file real quick. We're hitting onto about an hour, so I don't think I'm going to go on too much longer, but we're going to add this div class container to just suck it in a little bit because, let's see here. Okay. Because the problem is it's really going to the edge of the screen. You see how it's like right to the edge here and right to the edge on the right hand side. So we want to change that. So the way to do that is if you want to change or add code that'll be on every single page, you can go into the views and go to the layouts. And every time you request a page, it's going to use a layout for that particular request. And the default one is the application layout. So this is where your HTML tag is, your head tag is, and if you're used to HTML at all, this is all boilerplate code. You got your title tag, your style sheets, your JavaScript, your meta tags, and then we have the body section, and then the closing HTML. So the body section, you'll see this thing. This is called ERB template. So it's got HTML and it's got Ruby code in it, right? And then it compiles at run like it when we I think it compiles at runtime, and it'll swap out all the Ruby code for the proper HTML code. So in this case, this yield, which is a Ruby command, is saying when you access edit.html from the projects folder, stick that inside of this yield block in the layout, right, in the application layout. So that's what that does. So any of our code will fit right in between these two body tags here. But what we can do is, knowing that, we want to add a div, which is an HTML tag. So div with a class of container. And container class comes from Bootstrap, and we can simply go down here and close off our div like this. And I totally just did that in the wrong section. So we can do this now. Okay, and delete that section. And by simply doing that one div block, or that div tag, with the class container, we're going to have this have a totally different look thanks to Bootstrap. Let's see if this worked here. I should suck it in to be a normal width for a website. I think it's around 1200. I'm not entirely sure. We can inspect this. But you see how that worked there? It just sort of brought it in. And that is dynamic. So if I just hover there, it's 1170 plus. So the box, yeah, 1170 is what it's set to. But what we can do here is, now that that's set, it's dynamic. So we can shrink it up, and you can see how now the sides are much closer. Whereas when we bring it out, it sort of maxes out at a certain size, and the padding is different. So it's responsive in that way. So really, really handy. And from there, now that we have a container div, we can do things like break this into a grid layout, so we can actually have columns and start laying out our page to match that. But you can see in this quick, simple, well, it's been an hour, but you could technically do this in 15-20 minutes if you really wanted to rush through it and you knew what you're doing. You can add the tests that we did. We did tests for all the validations, making sure that all that information is there when you submit. And let's try that. Like we wrote the test, but we can do a real life situation where I say like name, I'll spell name right, and then web link is test.com, and then this will be test.com. It doesn't have to be .com, but let's do it for fun. Oh, man. And then we'll leave description blank and see what happens. We're just going to hit save project, and you can see that it turns this red and says can't be blank, and it says you have one error prohibiting this project from being saved, and the error is description can't be blank. So that all comes from that code we wrote at the very beginning, that validation code. And you can see how Bootstrap helped by turning this red. It knows that that's an error because of what Rails is doing in the back end when it's validating. It's sending back and saying this is what screwed up. So now Bootstrap can take that information and actually style it for us. This is very easy to read and know what mistake we have. So we can add something here, description, and we can take the name out and then try saving again. And it's going to say, wait a minute, the name can't be blank. Come on now. And if we do two of them, it's actually going to know. I'm pretty sure it'll do them all red, and then it'll say both of them here. So it'll say name can't be blank and description. So let's go ahead and finish this off here and save project. There we go. So it went through successfully. Perfect. So obviously we haven't styled this page or any of the other pages. So we can just say back. And you can see here's the list as we did before, confined to our little container that we had. The width is set based on that container div, and everything is working out good. So far that's good. We have projects up and running. We have the test written. We have their passing, and we've started to add style into this. I'll probably end the screencast here, and what we need to do next is style up how the listing of the projects looks. So when you come to the front page, it's going to be a list of projects. I don't want it to be a list like it is now, where it's like a table and there's a row in a table, which is very database-ish and, you know, spreadsheet-like. What we want to do is have it more like a user interface where it's really friendly, where there's just boxes with a title and then a description, then, you know, 2 columns of that or something like that. I think that would be neat, just to make it more friendly when they first come to the site and they can click on the project pretty easily and read it a little bit easier too. So if you guys have any questions at all, please let me know. What we should do is do this git. So we will save this, quit this, quit this. Should have quit all. And then git status. You'll see that we added a bunch of stuff here. So we have the style sheet application CSS that is a brand new file, and then the changes are the ones for all the Bootstrap changes plus the test. So why don't we do this sort of neat? That's funny, David at work. Nice. So yeah, don't forget to commit. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I did forget last time. So what we're going to do is do something different than we have done before. And because we did two things, we probably should have committed the tests and then committed the Bootstrap stuff. So we're going to run through this command with -p, the add command. And what that's going to do is say, okay, here's a change that you did. Do you want to add that to this commit? And we can say yes or no. So this one is dealing with a Bootstrap. So I'm going to say no for this one because I want to do the Bootstrap one separate or secondly. This is also a Bootstrap one, so I'm going to say N for no. This is the validate stuff, so I want to do this one. This is the tests, and this one is a view, so I'm going to say no, no, no. Okay, so this is changing. Yeah, this was the validation stuff, so that's changing the database migration file. So we'll say yes. We'll say yes to this. And this one we will say, oh yeah, yes, this is test, obviously. So now that we have that, you can see git status is, there are some of them that are ready to commit and some of them that have not been staged, which is great. So now we have ready to commit just the ones that we want for the testing. So we added validators for project model and added the model tests. Looks good. Okay, so now git status, you'll see that we have this, and we're going to add all of the rest of them because all of those ones were for the Bootstrap. So git status, so everything's ready to go. So now we can do git commit. We'll add a message to that, and the message will be configured Bootstrap, and updated the edit form view. Good. So we can do git status, and everything is good. Perfect. So there you have it. Let's end it there, and next time we'll come together and make that front page look really good, and maybe add some more styling to the other pages. There's about 4 or 5 pages that we can add styling to for this. And once that's done, obviously all this stuff can change because once we get the overall theme for the website, I don't like to say anything in stone right away. I just like to get an idea of what the website is first, and then think of, well, how would the menus work with all these different things, right? Because if you have one thing like projects, the menu structure will be totally different than if you had projects and screencasts and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. So all this stuff could change, but in the next episode, we'll get things rolling and looking a lot better for this one index page. So thanks a lot. We remembered to commit all our changes and we organized them into the 2 groups. And I think we had a great stream. And thanks very much, Johnny, for saying that. And hope you guys had a good time and catch you on the next one. Now, I can't send out notifications on Udemy too much because I am limited to 4 a month. And I've already done 3. I don't know how exactly it works. I might have some more on the other courses, but for the most part, subscribe to this YouTube channel because when I go live, it'll actually probably notify you that I'm going live through YouTube. It'll email you. I don't know how it works. It does something. And that's probably a better way because I'm not always going to be able to send out notifications through Udemy. So subscribe to this channel if you want to watch more of these, which I hope you do. And we'll keep building this thing out to be a pretty big application by the end of it. And then when this is done, we'll start building some cool things, some cool just things that the public can use, right? And we'll, I don't know, make them free, make them paid. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll have fun with it. So thanks again. We'll talk to everyone later and have a good one.